All right, when you think about these massive companies, where does the buck really stop on climate change? That's what we're digging into. We're going to find the corporate command center.
So let's just ask it straight up. Inside a huge corporation, when we're talking about climate, who's actually steering the ship? Who is ultimately in charge here?
For the longest time, the answer to that question was, well, kind of murky. And that was a huge problem, especially for investors. Think about it. It was nearly impossible to tell which companies were walking a tightrope with climate risk and which ones were actually ready for the future.
But then this report came along from the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and it basically provides the blueprint for that clarity everyone needed. And the entire thing, the whole structure, it starts with one foundational idea: governance. It's the command and control system.
Okay, so let's really dive into this whole climate clarity problem and the framework that was designed to solve it.
So this TCFD framework, it's built on 4 core pillars. You've got governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. Think of them like the 4 legs of a table, right? You need all of them to keep it steady. But today, we're zeroing in on the one that really holds everything else up, the absolute starting point: governance.
So what do we even mean by governance in this case? Well, it's the company's operating system. It's the whole setup for directing and controlling the organization. So it's less about what the specific climate goals are, and it's much more about who sets those goals and how performance is tracked to make sure people are held accountable.
And that accountability, it starts right at the very top. So let's get into the view from the penthouse suite, if you will, the board's role.
Now, what's really key to understand here is this fundamental split in duties. On one side, you've got the board of directors, and their job is oversight, high-level stuff. They're like the lookouts in the crow's nest of a ship. They decide where the ship is going, but they are not down on the deck rowing the oars.
So what does that oversight actually look like in practice? Well, the board isn't supposed to get lost in the weeds. Their role is to stay informed, to guide the big picture strategy, to sign off on major plans and spending, and to monitor progress against the targets. They are the guardians of the long-term vision.
But look, a vision from the top is pretty much meaningless if there's no action on the ground. So how does that strategy actually become reality? Well, that brings us to the folks who actually make it happen: management.
Exactly. If the board sets the destination, management is the crew that navigates the ship day to day. Their job is to translate that high-level strategy from the boardroom into real, concrete action in every single part of the company.
And this is exactly how that execution works. Management's job is to build the actual organizational chart for this. They assign specific climate responsibilities so everybody knows their role. They make sure they're informed on the issues, and then, in this part is absolutely critical, they complete the feedback loop by reporting progress and challenges back up to the board. That way, the strategy can adapt.
Okay, so we've seen the roles of the board and management, we've got the who and the how, but let's zoom out and ask the most important question. Why does any of this governance stuff actually matter? Because getting governance right creates this powerful ripple effect. It all starts with clear accountability. No more, oh, I thought they were handling it. That clarity builds investor confidence, which is huge. It signals to the market that a company is serious and well run. And that confidence, it leads to a smarter allocation of capital, with money flowing toward companies that are prepared for the future. Ultimately, that helps smooth the transition for the entire economy.
And that smoother transition really is the end game here. As Michael Bloomberg himself put it, adopting these recommendations will help smooth the transition to a more sustainable, low-carbon economy. It's all about building a more resilient, more prepared financial system, one company at a time.
So we've established that good governance is the blueprint for climate action inside a company. It sets the structure and it defines the roles, which kind of leaves us with a final thought to carry forward. If governance is the blueprint, who are the builders?